pop quiz, hotshot. With their first pick of the 1983 NFL Draft, who did the Buffalo Bills take? Odds are, you think it was this man right here, Jim Kelly. And I could see why you might think that. With pick number 14, the Bills took Kelly. And I think it's safe to say that this pick turned out to be an incredibly successful one for the Bills that they wouldn't change in the slightest bit. Even if Kelly did spurn them for 3 seasons to play in the upstart United States Football League. Jim Kelly was a heck of a first-round pick, as he finished his career with 5 Pro Bowls, over 35,000 passing yards, and an MVP season in 1991, where he led the Bills in touchdown passes and guided them to their second of what would be 4 straight appearances at the Super Bowl. Kelly is in the Hall of Fame for a reason, and you can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. Jim Kelly was selected by the Bills in the first round of the 1983 NFL Draft. And anytime you draft a quarterback in the first round who makes it to the Hall of Fame and wins an MVP and spends his entire NFL career with your team and guides your team to the big game 4 times, you did something right. Even if Kelly was the 3rd best quarterback in that draft class, mainly because that draft class was absolutely stacked, Buffalo's not doing anything over. However, they're definitely doing this pick over, because with their first pick of the 1983 NFL Draft, as it turns out, the Bills did not take Jim Kelly. Instead, they took this man right here, tight end Tony Hunter. Yes, the Bills had 2 first-round picks in 1983, but the Kelly one was pick number 14, which they acquired in a trade with the Cleveland Browns. The initial pick that the Bills got in 1982 for finishing 4-5 and completely collapsing down the stretch was pick number 12 and was used on a tight end that turned out to be one of the biggest disappointments in franchise history. For some perspective on how bad this pick was, by the time Jim Kelly was a member of the Bills, Tony Hunter was off the roster. In fact, there was one point in 1985 where the Bills, despite having 2 first-round picks from 1983, had none of those guys on their team. Hunter spent just 2 seasons in Buffalo before being traded for quarterback Vince Ferragamo, as in a quarterback who had 2 touchdowns and 8 picks the year before being traded, and a quarterback who spent 1 season in Buffalo where he threw 5 touchdowns and 17 interceptions and might have a legitimate case for being the worst quarterback in Bills history. In 2 seasons with the Bills, Tony Hunter had a not-so-nice 69 receptions for 733 yards and 5 touchdowns, which is pretty good production for 1 season, but not for an entire NFL career with a team when you're taken in the first half of the first round of the NFL Draft. Injuries didn't help his career out, but still, 2 years with a team that drafted you is not good no matter how you want to slice it, especially considering his problem at times with drops. And when it came to this man right here, we should have known that the writing was on the wall from day one, and we should have known that his career in Buffalo was going to be a complete and utter disaster. Because in what should have been the absolute easiest part of getting Hunter to Buffalo, as in assigning him his jersey number, the Bills made it seem like a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, leading to a bizarre situation where no one knew what Tony Hunter's number was, and where he changed his number after 1 game, changing his number seemingly every single day for about a week. It's a bizarre situation that probably would never happen today, considering how loose the NFL has gotten with number restrictions. But it's something that, nonetheless, deserves a deep dive more than 4 decades later. Because getting Tony Hunter to pick a jersey number was like getting Chidi in The Good Place to make a single decision about anything. Because this is the story behind Tony Hunter and what might just be, considering the circumstances, the dumbest uniform controversy in the over 60-year history of the Buffalo Bills franchise. Make sure you hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel, because we post every single day on here about the weird and the wacky history of the NFL, with stories like this one they may not have heard of before. So if you like that sort of stuff, then this is definitely the place for you. Thanks in advance for liking and subscribing, and for helping us grow this community. And with that in mind, let's talk about Tony Hunter's hunt for a jersey number. Before I talk about the actual incident in question, we need some context to understand what this man right here, Tony Hunter, was doing before the 1983 season started. After the Bills drafted the Notre Dame tight end in the first round, who finished his senior season with 42 receptions for 507 yards, you would think that since Hunter was the most marquee player that the Bills drafted in terms of status, seeing as he was the team's first pick, that he would have gotten a number right away. Tight ends back in the 1980s were restricted to wearing numbers in the 40 to 49 range or the 80 to 89 range. So you would think that there'd be some foresight on the part of Buffalo to just give him a number in that range right away. However, that's where you'd be wrong, because as it turns out, with the exception of the number 89 jersey, every number from 80 to 88 was taken by a veteran who had been with the team and had that number already before Hunter got there. The number 80 jersey was taken by wide receiver Jerry Butler. The number 81 jersey was taken by wide receiver Perry Tuttle. The number 82 jersey was taken by wide receiver Frank Lewis. The number 83 jersey was taken by defensive end Sherman White. The number 84 jersey was taken by tight end Buster Barnett. The number 85 jersey was taken by wide receiver Byron Franklin. The number 86 jersey was taken by tight end Mark Brammer. The number 87 jersey was taken by wide receiver Robert Holt. And the number 88 jersey was taken by Mike Mosley. So what about the number 89 jersey? Why not just give Hunter that jersey if you wanted to give him a number in the 80s? Well, because that would make too much sense. The number 89 jersey was just vacant, with the idea being that if 12th round pick Julius Dawkins made the team as a wideout, seeing as he wore number 46, that he'd switch over to number 89, since wide receivers weren't allowed to wear a number in the 40s. Why the Bills just didn't give Dawkins the number 89 jersey before the season started, I have no idea. Again, as you're going to see throughout this entire saga, this was all incredibly poor planning on Buffalo's part and could have been solved by a 6-year-old with even the slightest bit of critical thinking skills. So you would think that because there were no numbers available in the 80s, that it would mean that Tony Hunter had a jersey number in the 40s, right? Well, not quite. Because for some reason, when Tony Hunter got signed by the Bills, he was given the number 90. Seriously. He got the number 90 jersey, which, as you might know, is a number that cannot be worn by a tight end. Now, for the preseason, he was allowed to wear it. The rules for preseason numbers are extremely relaxed because the roster sizes are gigantic. This means you'll have teams where 2 players wear the same number on different sides of the ball. It'll have guys wearing the most wackadoo numbers that would never be allowed in a regular season game, like Washington tight end Van Heflin wearing the number 95 jersey, or wide receiver Jack Steptoe wearing the number 35 jersey. And no, I did not make either of those names or hypothetical scenarios up. But for the regular season, you have to be compliant with NFL jersey number regulations. You would think that they would just assign Hunter a compliant number right away for jersey sale reasons and for marketing reasons and for photo reasons, seeing as everyone knew that Hunter was going to make the team as a first-round pick. And everyone knew that Hunter wasn't getting his old college number that he had at Notre Dame in the number 85 jersey, since Byron Franklin was a former second-round pick and was expected to take a leap in 1983, with his roster status not being in too much danger. But nope, just give him number 90, just give him the number of a defensive lineman, and go from there. It makes as much sense as if today, the Tennessee Titans decided that Cam Ward was going to start the season wearing the number 74 jersey, which is a number that no quarterback is allowed to wear. So despite being in no danger of missing the roster, Tony Hunter, the man you've been watching this whole time, was wearing a temporary number in the 90s that he'd have to switch out of before the season started. Sure enough, to the shock of no one, Hunter makes the team. And sure enough, to the shock of the Bills, they have to figure something out. So you would think at this point, that with nothing in the 80s available, that Hunter would get a number in the 40s, right? And for Hunter, he wanted the number 49 jersey, which was available and wasn't being taken by anyone. And if that was the end of the story and he got to wear number 49, then as bizarre as this story might be, this isn't much of a story. Guys change their number from the end of the preseason to the start of the regular season all the time. It's a bit odd when it's a first-round pick doing it, especially back then, but whatever. So the Bills go into their closet, and equipment manager Dave Hodjanowski is looking through everything. And at that point, he realizes that there's a problem. To start the season off, Hunter couldn't wear number 49. The reason? They didn't have a number 49 jersey in his size. I wish I was making that up. The Buffalo Bills, a professional football team, didn't have the right size jersey for their player and couldn't get one in time for their Week 1 game against the Miami Dolphins, which turned out to be a 12-0 loss and a pretty bad omen for Tony Hunter's career and how the 1983 season would go for Buffalo. This meant that Hunter could wear the number 49 jersey after Week 1, but for Week 1, he'd have to wear a completely different number. Now, to be fair to the Bills, at that point in franchise history, only twice had a player worn the number 49 jersey in a regular season game. The first was defensive back Floyd Hudlow, who was 5'11" and weighed 195 pounds. He wore the jersey for 1 year in 1965. The second was wide receiver Larry Walton, who was 6 feet and weighed 180 pounds. He wore the jersey for 1 year in 1978. Tony Hunter is 6'4" and 237 pounds, so he is considerably taller and considerably heavier than either of those guys. Still, how hard is it to press a freaking jersey? We see it happen at the NFL draft in a matter of 5 seconds. You're telling me the Bills don't have a single extra large jersey that they can just put a number on? How is that even possible? Did the lost revenue from the strike in 1982 set you back that much that you had to make budget cuts in terms of your wardrobe department? It feels insane to think about, especially considering how easy it is today to get custom jerseys and to have everything done in seconds, and especially considering the fact that number 49 was available this whole time, so why not just give Tony Hunter the number when he gets drafted? But apparently, in 1983, this was too much for the Bills to handle, as they couldn't have Hunter wearing the number 49 jersey because they physically didn't have one available. Which meant that after all of that, for that 12-0 loss to the Dolphins during the opening week of the season, which I should also note was a home game, and seeing as there was a gap between the final preseason game and the first game of the regular season, and the Bills didn't have to travel whatsoever, meant that they should have had plenty of time to be able to get this done, Tony Hunter wore the number 47 jersey, but he was going to switch to the number 49 jersey afterwards. Sure enough, Hunter did that and switched from number 47 to 49. And then he pulled off a trade with veteran tight end Dave Young to wear the number 87 jersey, which he wore for the remainder of his career in Buffalo and in the NFL, even when he spent 2 seasons with the Los Angeles Rams in 1985 and 1986. Young was a tight end on the Bills roster in the preseason who made the team and also wore a number in the 90s, so he needed to switch to a number in the 40s or the 80s, and he switched to number 87 after second-year wideout Kevin Holt got injured and didn't make the team. But after 1 week, he was more than willing to trade with Hunter, not that it mattered too much, as Young was off the team shortly after. You got all that? Why on earth is a uniform number saga like trying to follow the plot through a Christopher Nolan movie? In case you're trying to track how all this went down, Tony Hunter, a first-round pick mind you, started off wearing the number 90 jersey. He then switched to number 49, but couldn't get the move done because the Bills didn't have any jersey with the number 49 that was in his size. So he switched to number 47 for 1 game, before going back to number 49 once the Bills finally got that in stock, before trading with another tight end to wear number 87. In the span of a week, Hunter wore 5 different jersey numbers, switching from 90 to 49 to 47 to 49 to 87. I know there are some players that autograph things with their number as part of their signature. If Tony Hunter autographed anything during that, honestly, he might have been better off just autographing it with the infinity symbol. Use an imaginary number. Use the quadratic formula. Use the made-up number between 5 and 6, known as DERF for all I care. I don't get how this is possible. He changed his number more times during 1 week in 1983 than he scored touchdowns that season. Every day was an adventure to look at the local paper, look at the Buffalo Bills roster, and see what jersey number Tony Hunter was listed under this time. Today, the Bills have a couple of numbers retired, such as 12 for Jim Kelly and 34 for Thurman Thomas. But if they wanted to retire Tony Hunter's number, with his number being the punctuation symbol of a question mark, I honestly wouldn't be opposed. That's how insane and backwards this was, and it could have been avoided the moment the Bills drafted him. It is genuinely impressive how you managed to turn assigning a jersey number to a first-round pick that is a lock to make the team into an SAT-level math problem. But the Bills found a way. The Buffalo Bills sure as heck found a way. The Buffalo Bills in the mid-1980s, in between the Chuck Knox era and the Marv Levy era, were super dysfunctional, super disorganized, and super bad. And this is another prime example of that. Because in 1983, when it came to Tony Hunter, the saga involving Tony Tone did not feel good. Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name at the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.